but who was interviewed for this audit? Was the actual sheriff of the Sheriff's Department interviewed, and Madam DA Fonnie Willis, since those are the two I see on the screen and that I hear being discussed, were they actually interviewed?
Commissioner, no, they were not available. We tried to interview them directly. They weren't available. In the Sheriff's Office, we met with Ronnie Stinson and another staff member, and with the DA's office, we met with Dexter Bond and 2 other staff members.
All right. And as it relates to this Sprinter vehicle, when you went to, you said you went to look for it and it wasn't there?
I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. We did not go to look for it. It was what was reported to us, the procurement, the process. This was a review, it wasn't an audit, so I'd like to just make sure there's a
this is a review, not an audit.
Right, there is a difference.
Yes, there is.
So as part of that, we were informed of this procurement. We were looking at different procurements. We were asking, are there anything that's irregular? Is there anything that's worth taking a look at, and where the system may have broken down someplace? And this was one that was brought to our attention. We did ask the Sheriff's Office about it, and the timeline, everything we talked about was they concurred with the timeline and how things happen in the process.
So were you informed that the Sprinter was actually being upfitted at the time?
It was specially outfitted. They did tell us that, yes.
Okay, and so I want to, is Joe over there? I think, yes, I see you now. Mr. Davis, how long does it take to upfit a vehicle of that size? Can it take up to a month or so to upfit?
The time frame varies due to the requested upfit and how complex it may or may not be, as well as the type of vehicle. So a month, very conceivable that it could potentially.
Being upfitted for lighting on this vehicle?
It's being manufactured, I believe, and the invoice is for the unit itself, window tint, windshield, 2 front windows, blue light, siren, 360-degree package, convert, sheriff edition, the delivery charge, an alarm security, and a weapon storage system.
Oh, okay, so which is just normal for a command vehicle of this type. So that appears to be the reason why it wasn't where some thought it should be, because it was being upfitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I have to apologize. I'm just hearing about the Sprinter, so I need to ask a few questions if somebody here can answer it. When was this Sprinter purchased? Can anybody answer that?
The invoice is dated November 28th, 2021.
2021. And what was the cost of the Sprinter?
The unit itself was $185,000 with all of the additional upfit charges, $201,199.
$201,000.
Yes, ma'am.
The procurement process this went through, was it an emergency procurement process? Or was it a process, because I just want you to educate me, is it a process that would have went through our procurement? Or is it a process that it would have went through the sheriff's? And was it considered an emergency? I just would like to know, can anybody answer those questions?
It was an item that the sheriff acquired independently using his constitutional authority, and then presented a request to the purchasing department to issue a purchase order so that we could issue payment for the item.
So I take that as a no procurement with us. The sheriff made a decision based on his needs to buy a $200,000 Sprinter. That's what I take that as. Because it didn't go through any of the process that we have in place over here.
That's correct.
Okay, that's a concern for me.